So the last video I made was interesting because I talk a little bit about jazz. I touched on the subject matter for a little. The reason being is jazz is becoming, in a lot of ways, a forgotten art because hip hop has actually overtaken all the arts, all the art expression. It's a culture unto itself. But so was jazz back in the '60s and in its early development state. In its early stage of development, jazz was just as big, I think. And I'm surprised how little people know about this art form. I went out a while back with a woman. She was very well educated, or supposedly well educated, master degree, from a prestigious university. She had a master degree from a prestigious university. Yeah, it is funny how a lot of these women, they claim they're educated, but they're really just brainwashed. So we're talking about a different subject matter. Guys, whenever I go with got women, I like to kind of pick their brain just to see where they're coming from. No matter what kind of sheepskin they try to throw in your face, it's best to know what's in this person's head. And the reason why I do that is because think about it this way: if you were going to mail yourself into a letter into the future, say in the next 100 years, who would you give that letter to? Who would you entrust that responsibility to deliver your message? Who? You know, who do you trust? Who would you trust? Big Booty Nadine, Shaniqua, educated diva over here? You know, who do you trust with your genetic material? That's really what this is all about. Trusting someone with your genetic material to make sure it doesn't get diluted, but they can build it. You can come back, hit the ground running without any confusion. Rhythm. No break in your rhythm or confusion to your steps. Just one continuous flow from one life to the next. If you can get here and you can pick up where you left off, now wouldn't that be a doozy? Huh? Wouldn't that be a doozy? To be able to just get here, born, pick up where you left off without having to retrace your steps. So who do you give that genetic material to? Some educated, uh, mindless, paper-pushing drone? Or someone with some culture? Someone who'll be able to teach you and pass that information on so that you could be competitive in the race that is life. That's really what this is all about. So guys, when I date women, I don't date no more, but when I used to date women, I used to like to get an idea where they're coming from. You want to look past all the trappings, the way they look. Yeah, beautiful. Beauty is good. Don't want to date no hogs. But I pay attention to what she says. So I was dating this woman out. I went out with this girl. Like I said, she's very well educated. And we're talking. Talk for a long time on a wide variety of subjects, you know. But then it got to music. And we started talking about classical music, And then she hit me with the big one. She hit me with the big one because we got to run to jazz. And she told me how she liked listening to jazz. I said, okay, so we're in the same wavelength, yeah. You like jazz, yeah. Get this now. Guess what this crazy woman told me? She told me she liked listening to Kenny G. Oh, no problem. No problem. That was no problem. I said, okay, so you like Kenny G. All right. But here's the doozy, fellas. She thought Kenny G created jazz. I shit you not. This is a well-educated woman who thought Kenny G created jazz. At that point in the restaurant, I'm looking at her like, you know, you were doing great up to this point. How the fuck you don't know your history, you ignorant slut? That's what I said to myself, but I didn't say it to her. But you know, I had the overwhelming urge to take the soup spoon and slap her with it. I had to control, I had to sit through it, And then I just like, something said, why don't you just get up and just start running? Like, get up and just run away from her. Just run as fast as I fucking can. Just leave her ass with the bill. You know, but you know the thing about it is, when she told me that, she wanted to know what I think. I just look at her. I try to change the subject. You know, I was like, classical music. Let's talk about classical music. I mean, it's like, how do you not know that, look, these great jazz masters like Louis Armstrong, Miles Davis, one of my favorite piece, Sketches of Spain. You know, I just felt like taking her home, tying her up, and Willie the Whisper ass. Stick up my belt and just start wailing away at her backside. You cantankerous bitch. How is it that you don't know your history? How do you not know your history? That's what we're talking about. If you wanted to project yourself into the future, who do you give this information to? Who do you entrust with this responsibility? And I had to sit there through this torture, this mind torture. So we talk about classical music, and I was just telling her, I said, look, you know, I used to listen to classical music when I was a kid. In England, you know, I went to school, so I remember listening to classical music during certain classes, like when we used to do like architectural drawing and shit like that. We used to listen to classical music. Classical music, when I finished listening to classical music, I felt like blowing up something. And I might add, with the exception of Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, his music was just multi-dimensional. Nigga knew what he was doing. But Beethoven, on the other hand, seemed like he was just angry all the time. Moonlight Sonata. The man looked like he would slap you and sit your ass down. You will listen to my music, motherfucker. But you know, I guess that's what happens when you're half deaf and have the Ninth Symphony rolling around in your head. But why do you think all the aristocrats and ruling class listen to classical music? I'll tell you why. Because those motherfuckers are always plotting shit. You know? It's a mental thing. Taking a mental journey to just want to plot and take over some shit. But jazz, on the other hand, when I listen to it, the images that come to my mind is grandma in the kitchen cooking pie, kids running around, pop sitting there with his cognac around the fireplace, reflecting on the beauty of life. But classical music makes me want to bomb something. Make me want to take over the world. It's an expression that makes you want to plan, at least for me, to fuck up something. I can just hear those ruling class vampires now. Welcome, gentlemen. Gentlemen, welcome. If you just feast your eyes over here, if you feast your eyes over here to this map over here, this vast sweat of land, gentlemen, that we have here. Yes, this vast territory We are going to clear the area, gentlemen. We're in the Industrial Revolution, gentlemen. We're going to clear this area to plant rubber. And suffice to say, gentlemen, if this venture is successful, we'll pad our bank accounts and put a few quid in our pockets. My good friend here, Lord Chopwell, is on board. So what do you say, George, old buddy? Well, Lord Bloodstone, what are we going to do with those poor peasants on the land? Well, no need to worry, George. No need to worry. The Crown is on board and I've already notified the Royal Air Force. See, those poor peasants been sitting on their naked backside for centuries, George, taking up valuable resources and valuable real estate. So we're going to clear the area, George. We're going to bomb the area. And those that live, those that survive, will civilize them, George. We'll civilize them for the crown. And they become good citizens for Her Highness. So what do you say, George? Are you on board, old chap? This is the Industrial Revolution. We have to stay ahead of the curve, old boy. So what do you say, old bloke? Are you on board? Well, Lord Bloodstone, if you really have a plan, a buck is a buck. Well, gentlemen, it's a done deal then. So, gentlemen, let's retreat to my quarters and get ourselves a cup of tea then, shall we? It's Aubrey, old boy. Bring us the chamber orchestra. Let's listen to some music, shall we? No. None of that Wagner stuff. I don't like that guy. Give me the heebie-jeebies. Yes, let's listen to a little Mozart. Yes, that's good. Yeah, young lady, this was beautiful music, young lady. I've not seen you here before. Would you like to stay for dinner? Oh, my lord, thank you, my lord. No need for pleasantry there. Aubrey, old boy, take her to the dungeon. We'll have her for dinner later. The nerve of these peasants nowadays, George. What did you think? I was going to have her sit at my table and use my valuable and expensive china? These bloody peasants. You see, that's what I hear when I listen to classical music. Because think about all the people that listen to classical music. They're planning some shit. They're planning to take over the world. They're planning to... Think about the mindset that you have to be in, you know? I'm not saying, I'm not taking it, diminishing it in any way, shape, or form. It's a beautiful form of music. It's a beautiful form of expression. But someone has to write it down for you. You see, classical music is complicated. Jazz is sophisticated. Classical music is of the mind. Jazz is of the heart. A couple notes will just put your mind to rest, expand your awareness, and have your soul dancing to its own tune. Sometimes I listen to these jazz musicians, the old ones, the ones that had developed and cultivate their skills, and I could pretty much, it's almost as if I could taste the texture of the notes that they're playing. No joke. It's as if I could taste the music. It takes you somewhere. It takes you into a vast landscape of beauty, into a world where you can witness an infinite expanse. It takes you on a journey towards the inner world. I like to call it the big country, or the big empty. Now hold it. Wait a minute, bitch. This is not a mental exercise or intellectual pursuit. You see, when these jazz masters are playing, they're communicating from a whole different dimension. They're taking you on a journey through the landscape of the heart, where everything just seems right. I'm not saying classical can't do that, but you see, it jazz make you forget yourself. Jazz gives you the ability to express yourself in ways that you can never do in classical music because the arrangement is set. You see, while you can play and do all this stuff, you cannot channel the music. You can only play what's in front of you. That's what makes jazz so beautiful. It frees you up to do whatever you want to do. That's what makes it so spiritual. It connects you with the heavens, see? And it doesn't limit you. So she can tell me this bullshit about Kenny G. I'm thinking about, what about all the great jazz musicians? Louis Armstrong. These guys could play circle around this guy. And this lady, this woman had the nerve. She had the nerve to come tell me about Kenny G and wanted to know what I think. I was like, I'd take that instrument from Kenny G and beat him over the head with it and shove it up his ass, and that motherfucker could fart and make a better sound than the elevator music is playing. She just looked at me real shocked. I was thinking, oh shit, I'm not gonna get no blowjob tonight. Well, second thought. If you could wither this storm dealing with these liberal women, you just sit there and say nothing. Just like Paul Wilfield, that guy in Mars Attack, the general say, honey, if I just sit here and say nothing, they'll promote me. I think that's the same thing with these liberal chicks. If you just sit here and say nothing, at the end of the night, you'll get a blowjob. You get some sex. But I'm a little different. I got to make a connection with a woman before I can even do anything. So, just mere fact that we couldn't connect on certain level. I didn't even want a blowjob from her. I didn't want anything. At that point, I was like, no, I don't want none from this bitch. I might take a chance to get her pregnant, and then I'm stuck with her for like generation. Oh, hell no. I don't want that responsibility, because that's not my job. I don't want that responsibility. So that's like my take on the whole jazz thing, which was one of the most beautiful musical expression that was ever created. And to see that people, especially folks who have kids, if you're a black person, you have kids, it's your duty to know your own fucking history. I don't want to hear about, well, the school don't. It's not the school job to tell you this. This is something you're supposed to know. You're supposed to know this. You're supposed to sit around the table and know this stuff and discuss this stuff with your kids. So you tell them about Jesus. You wasn't there when Jesus was. You can tell them about Jesus. You know everything about your Lord and Savior. I remember hearing this, listening to this one. I remember listening to this one radio station, and somebody was talking about Jesus. There was a discrepancy as to whether or not Jesus existed or not. Well, to me, it's relevant. The New Testament was the New Covenant, right? It's the New Covenant. The whole structure is built on love, honor, and respect, and forgiveness. Those are facts. Those are things we can build on. So Jesus is irrelevant. But what happened was, this lady called. Somebody was just, bringing up the point that, the old Jesus story is bunk. All right, okay, so no problem. But this lady called, old black lady. And she was like, don't talk about my Lord and Savior. No, sir. First thing I thought about, you old bitch. Just take a plastic pipe and just hit her over the fucking head with it. So old bitches be teaching, these are the old bitches be teaching our kids. Brainwashing them with all this garbage. And their history that is here right now. The great Muhammad Ali. The great Louis Armstrong. They don't say nothing about them. You don't know anything about them. Miles Davis. And that list goes on and on. And this is just recent history. We're not even talking about going back no more than about 100 years. Well, you can go back 5,000 years and talk about 2,000 years and talk about some man and some cross. And his image don't even look like yours. That's what we're talking about, mailing ourselves into the future. What we're going to encounter? Propaganda, facts, truth. Who you going to give that who you going to give that information to? Who's going to pass on this genes to? Who you going to pass this genetics to? This viable information, the shit that you've learned now. Guys, the shit that we learn now, the clarity that we have now, who are we going to pass it on to? Because I'm telling you right now, I'm looking at all these educated bitches and they're not qualified. Well, I think I better end this video now. But some of you educated bitches you've been waiting to scale and phone wanting. And you niggas ain't no different. You always have your dick in your hand. You sell for anything just so you can get some pussy. I'm about a bunch of fucking womb worshippers.